What's up, everybody? Welcome back. This is Fargo, and for a long time I've been telling you guys that I've been saving materials to tier 3 ebony, and I actually did it actually almost a week ago, but I've been so busy talking about all this other content that I haven't got around to it. But today, that's exactly what we're going to talk about, and we're going to see if ebony is actually more than just a support, because as a support he's pretty godly. I mean, they did make him a blast type in this uniform. He does have the 40% increase of energy tech, which is really nice. That applies to all allies, but on top of that, his uniform effect actually also gives him the basic damage to universals by 35% and decreases damage received from universals by 35%. This is actually quite godly in PvP and also in World Boss Ultimate, World Boss Legend against Knull, because there's a lot. Well, the World Boss Ultimate and World Boss Legend are all universal types, unless it's the mutants that you're facing in World Boss Ultimate. And in PvP, a lot of the meta characters are universal types, so he actually still gets used, can actually even still get kills, which is actually pretty freaking nutso. But he also, like, as far as himself is concerned, his passive, increased basic damage to superheroes by 50%, and then increases basic damage to supervillains by 30%. That is nuts. Increased skill damage by 40%. I mean, he's got a lot of self-buffing things, as well as a uniform effect that can apply to all allies, a leadership that applies to all allies, and his tier 3 really doesn't have a lot going on. He's got the all defense down that goes up 70%, which is pretty godly in regular world boss, but we're actually going to show what he can do against Knull. And then the increase all basic attack by 30% for 8 seconds is nice, man, because even in the next rotation afterwards, you might be able to use this. This has a 7-second invincibility. I wish it had a debuff on it, but unfortunately it doesn't. But I mean, his 2 skill actually does quite a few hits. Actually has incapacitation too. That's pretty freaking cool. He's got paralysis on the 1, which we're not even going to be using today. The 3rd skill does a lot of hits. It's got immunity on it. It also has an all defense down. It's also got mind control on it, which again we won't be using. The 4th skill has a lot of hits as well. The 5th skill has a nice 50% attack buff. And the beautiful thing about Ebony is he has either you can cancel skills pretty quickly, or they have a short delay, which is actually pretty damn cool. And then he has an increased mind damage by 30% and decreased basic damage received by 30%. And this is insane, especially considering that he gets the decreased damage from universal types by 35% from his uniform effect. So against universals, he's actually got a decreased damage received by 65%, which is one of the reasons why he's so good in PvP as a support amongst all the other buffs that he's giving, but actually really good in PvE as well for his support for the decreased damage received, and also obviously for the buffs that he's going to be giving your other characters. But Ebony's actually quite strong in himself. I mean, the 5, you can actually cancel the 5 immediately, which is pretty sick. You'll see the little meteor come falling down right here, right? That's pretty cool. And you guys can see, you can just cancel that thing immediately, and the meteor will come falling down. There it is. Isn't that cool? So awesome. I love it when we have characters that we can cancel skills immediately. Now, to be fully transparent with y'all, I'm not going to be using this guy as a damage dealer, but he is strong. He's not the strongest character in the game, but I tell you what, man, he's definitely got some power for sure. His 4th skill does this nice tornado. His skills are so beautiful. Blue is one of my favorite colors. Really love it. Really love it. Very nice to see. A low battery there. His 2nd skill, look at how many hits that thing does. It does a lot of hits between 2 opponents. 32 hits, which is 16 hits per opponent for 1 opponent. That's nice. The 3rd skill, gives a heal immediately, which is something they should have done for Psylocke, those peckers, but they did do it for Ebony. It's only a 10% recovery, but still, because he gets it immediately, it's actually quite nice. You can cancel the 3 immediately. He's actually fairly proc friendly, but I'm actually running a CTP of Judgment because there is a slight delay on the 3. If you cancel the 3 immediately, you won't get all that residual damage from it. You're not going to get all those hits from it. You really want to let it hit, and then you can cancel, right? He's got to let it hit first, so if you are playing with a proc, it can be a little tricky sometimes, because you always want him to do a hit, so that way he can get a lot of residual damage from the 3 along with the 5 and the 4 and the 2. The rotation that I generally like to do is I like to hit the 3, let him do a couple hits, and then go 5, go into the 4, and then delay the 4 a little bit, and then go into the 2nd skill. And that's kind of how I like to play it. And then in the next rotation, it's literally 3, 5, 4, and then the tier 3, and whenever the eyes show up, I'll go ahead and hit the 2nd skill to get a little extra hits in there. And I'll tell you what, man, Ebony does quite well. He really did surprise me. I knew he was strong, but I didn't know how strong he was. And honestly, guys, he doesn't even have a full maxed out build. His uniform has almost 54,000 energy attack. I do have 126% energy attack on my cards, and he does have max attack speed. His critical damage is at 165%. His ignore defense is at 49%. Now, the ignore defense is fine. 1% away from max ignore defense isn't too bad. But 165% critical damage is pitiful. That is terrible, guys. We would do a lot more damage if we had 35% more critical damage. And if that critical rate was maxed out, it would help him do more critical hits, which would allow us to do more damage. So keep that in mind when you're watching this run. This is actually pretty freaking nuts. He has all mythic energy attack Urus, no Odin's blessings, right? In his slots. I've maxed him out the best I could. All of the skills are 6, and we just have a stage 6 Power of Angry Hawk set. Now, this is really, really important because we have the low critical damage at 165%, but also we don't have a fully awakened Power of Angry Hawk or Overdrive set. And if we had it, we'd get an extra 40% attack, right? Instead of the 20% attack that we're actually going to get from this ISO 8 set. That is a big difference. Now, we are running the mighty CTP of Judgment, but I wouldn't really pay attention to the type amplification because, as someone commented in the last video, and I actually tested this on Mephisto before I even started making this video, the type amplification only seems to apply whenever you have the type advantage against another opponent. It only seems to bump up this right here. So if you are using this against a combat opponent, then you're going to do more damage against that combat opponent because Ebony is a blast. If you had it equipped on a combat character like Apocalypse, then you're going to do more damage to speed types and so on. And that is the way it seems to work out because when I put it on Mephisto and I tested this with Psylocke, the type amplification proc is not helping them at all against Knull compared to just a regular CTP of Judgment. That's how it went for Mephisto. I used a regular CTP of Judgment, and then I had a mighty CTP of Judgment, this one right here, and there was no difference in the damage at all against Knull. 0. So I don't think that's doing anything for him at all. But we do have the increased proc by 200%. The uniform is at Mythic. I did put a little love into Ebony. His uniform options are Gwenpool, and then you got Namor here. You got Venom right there. You got Silver Surfer, and then you have Red Guardian. Some decent ones, some not so decent. But pretty blown away by Ebony because, you know, it's nice to know that a character is more than just a support, you know, that he actually can do some damage. So I'll go ahead and pull up that run for you guys right now. All right, so let's watch this thing. All right, now this really wasn't that difficult of a challenge really for Ebony. This is stage 31 where we have to use blast types, and I do got Cyclops as a support for the 30% increase of energy attack. Cyclops does have a CTP of Insight on him also, and then we got Storm for the extra elemental damage by 35%. And yeah, I mean, Ebony is... that damn tier 3's got a lot of damn damage on it. That thing has quite a bit of burst damage. Actually surprised me quite a bit. Even though I'm not going to be using this character for, like, you know, higher stages, I'm still going to have him as a support. And I've always said before, you know, supports are always foolproof. Anytime you level up one of these characters, whether it's White Fox, whether it's Wave, whether it's Ebony, you're getting something special, right? You know, Proxima, you're getting something special, right? You got that character that's going to give you that support, give you that, you know, dodge, whatever it might be that you need for your other characters, and that's nice. The downfall to Ebony whenever you're using him against Knull is he doesn't have any ignore dodge whatsoever. He has none. So I do have 3 ignore dodge strikers, and that's something else to keep in mind in this run. We got low critical damage at 165%. We're only using 60% ignore dodge, so Knull is going to be dodging some of our attacks. So we're not doing optimal damage against Knull because he will be dodging some of our attacks. I mean, and it's pretty amazing, really, how strong Ebony is. I mean, remember, if we were using just a regular CTP of Judgment, I bet you anything the damage would be the same. And like I said, I tested earlier on Mephisto. I used a regular CTP of Judgment, then I used a mighty CTP of Judgment, and the damage was the same. I wish I'd been recording it, but the damage was the same for the whole first phase against Knull. It was exactly the same. So I really don't think that proc's helping at all. I'm not really trying to build a proc, to be honest, right here. All I'm doing is just trying to stay alive because Ebony, even though he's got the decreased damage received by 30%, even though he's got the decreased damage received from universals by 35%, so he's got a total of decreased damage received by 65% against Knull, he can still die, man. You know, even, you know, stage 31 does, you know, Knull does do a lot of damage to you. I mean, you can really absorb a lot. Something that's nice about Ebony is he's got pretty good movement speed. He actually can run pretty fast, so you can actually avoid those things. He can actually tank one of those sometimes, which isn't too bad. Also, something else that I've noticed that's really nice is that his tier 3 has ignore iframe. That is sweet. So every time Knull goes into an iframe, I can always get a hold of him, or you can always get a hold of him with Ebony, which is sweet. That is nice, my friends. That is dope that he can do that. And you'll see that here in a little bit. Oh, now, yeah, the tornadoes are definitely a detriment to him, and so are the toxic meteorites on the ground. Like, even when you do your tier 3, you can still take damage from toxic meteorites. It's pretty wacky. At least I was earlier. Not bad. And by the way, he does play well with the proc, like I said earlier. So I think actually a mighty CTP of Destruction would be pretty awesome on this character because he doesn't have any super armor, he doesn't have any immunity guard break, and if you were trying to do like a mixed blend, like try to make him decent for PvE and have him, you know, for PvP, then you'd have that immunity guard break. And I think that would actually be a pretty nice touch for him. And really, I think a mighty CTP of Destruction and definitely a brilliant would probably be pretty godly on this character. Like I said, he can play with a proc. Sometimes a proc will get off. Sometimes you can't cancel into the tier 3 fast enough when you're going from the 354 into the tier 3. But most of the time, he is pretty proc friendly. I'm not going to say he's super proc friendly, but most of the time. But you don't really get all that residual damage from that third skill because you have to cancel it so fast when you're playing with a proc, and that kind of sucks. That's the CTP of Judgment will do a lot more damage than a damage proc. I can tell you that quite a bit more. Oh, Nelly. Now, something I did notice is, you know, whenever we get to the last part of the phase, Ebony doesn't quite have enough damage, at least with the current build that I have, with 25% Pierce and all the energy attack I have. He doesn't quite have enough pep to clear out the very last phase, but because he has all this decreased damage received, right, and because he has a heal on that third skill, it might be only a 10% recovery, but it is enough of a heal with that decreased damage received that we can actually tank a little bit right now. So we got our tier 3 available. We're going to have invincibility, which is going to give us super armor, so we're not going to get guard broken here. And I'm just going to try to do a little bit of damage here. I'm just going to try to do a little bit, but you see the damage we took there, right? We took a good amount of damage. We took a good amount of damage pretty fast, so I had to, you know, get rid of them, switch them out, switch to Cyclops here. And now I'm just kind of buying time. I'm going to try to switch back to Ebony. And like you see right here, guys, I'm not building the meter up at all. I'm not building the bar up at all for the mighty CTP of Judgment. I mean, now I'm going to kind of run around a little bit because the 5 has such a long cooldown. And it's murder time, my friends. It's murder time. Eyes show up. Oh, yeah. And boom. 5 seconds to spare. Stage 31. And I know that's not the best, you know, compared to a lot, you know, some of the other characters in the game. But considering this guy is such a good support, it's actually pretty amazing to see him be so strong, man. That's pretty freaking powerful for this character to be able to do that. Again, if we were just using a mighty CTP of Judgment, or I'm sorry, a regular CTP of Judgment, we would have been able to do it. We would have easily been able to do that, which is pretty awesome, guys. Like, I was pretty surprised they could do it. I tried going higher and doing higher stages, but the damage just wasn't there with my current build. But considering he could do that with the low critical damage, with the stage 6 Power of Angry Hulk set, that is crazy, guys. If this would have been fully awakened, I would have had higher energy stats. I would have had an extra 20% all attack proc from this ISO 8 set bonus. I mean, that would have made a big difference. The critical damage, if it had been maxed out, oh my god, he'd been so much stronger. He would have hit so much harder. But I wanted to show Ebony some love since I tier 3'd him, just to see what kind of damage he does, and it's pretty respectful, I gotta say. So let me know what y'all think about Ebony Maw. And I do stream on Twitch at 9 p.m. GMT+7 time. The link is in the description below. And I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Y'all take care and have a good one. See ya.